What's up, Lions Nation? Today we're diving into a matchup that could write another epic chapter in this season. After weeks of resilience, wins in completely different styles, and a total mindset shift, the team now steps into a clash against an opponent living a completely opposite reality. The stage is set. On one side, a squad that's growing every single game, earning respect across the league. On the other, a rival that started the year as a contender, but now finds itself buried in doubt, mistakes, and pressure from its own fans. And it's in this collision of paths that Detroit walks in, confident, balanced, and with players hitting their peak at just the right time. So here's the question, Lions Nation, do you believe this will be the game where everything finally clicks and the team sends another powerful message to the entire NFL? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know if you're as confident as I am. Before we get rolling, smash that like button because it helps the channel grow and shows the strength of our fan base. Let's ride together because week by week this team proves it's not the same old Lions anymore. One pride, go Lions! What if I told you that this matchup against the Bengals could end up being one of those games where everything we've seen from the Detroit Lions over the last 3 weeks comes together and sends yet another message to the entire NFL? Think about it. After the disaster in Green Bay during Week 1, when panic hit hard and people questioned everything from the coordinators to the loss of Frank Ragnow, this team has completely flipped the script. 3 straight wins, each in a different style, have reset the tone for the season. They bullied the Bears, shocked Baltimore on Monday Night Football, and handled the Browns in a gritty, ugly game that still ended with Detroit pulling away. This isn't the same old Lions. This is a team that's building confidence week by week, proving they can win in multiple ways, and the Bengals just happen to be the next test. But here's the twist. This isn't the Bengals people expected when the schedule first dropped. Back then, this was circled as a heavyweight showdown, a 4:25 Fox kickoff with Joe Burrow and all those weapons. Instead, Cincinnati has spiraled, struggling through 2 miserable weeks where they've been outscored 76-13. Yes, 76-13. That's not a typo. Their quarterback play without Burrow has left points all over the field, and it's left Bengals fans deflated. Jake Browning has weapons like Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins at his disposal, yet they've managed 1 touchdown in 8 quarters, and even that came in garbage time against backups. The locker room is restless, the penalties are piling up, and the offense looks historically bad.
That's where the intrigue deepens, because while the Bengals are trying to find a spark, Detroit rolls into town with a balanced roster and players who are peaking at the right time. On defense, DJ Reader is healthy, motivated, and anchoring the line in a contract year. Aiden Hutchinson has rediscovered his dominance after a slow start, posting multiple sacks on Lamar Jackson, forcing strip sacks, and wrecking games in ways that remind you why he's the face of this defense. And don't underestimate how much he changes everything around him. If Hutchinson is on, the rest of the defensive line doesn't even need to be perfect. He draws so much attention that gaps open everywhere else. Bengals fans can talk about getting Ja'Marr Chase more involved, but none of that works if Hutchinson spends the day in the backfield. Offensively, Detroit's line has been the steadying force. Taylor Decker, shoulder banged up and still playing every week, just neutralized Myles Garrett without allowing a sack. Penei Sewell continues to play like the best right tackle in football, a mauler who nearly graded out at 100 against Baltimore. Together, they've given Jared Goff the time he needs, and they've built the platform for David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to thrive. Last week Montgomery had just 9 carries for 12 yards. That won't happen again. And with Gibbs' explosiveness layered in, plus Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and Jameson Williams stretching defenses, there are simply too many ways this offense can hurt you. And then there's the personal storylines. David Montgomery returning to Cincinnati, his hometown, where his sister, who's been through an incredibly difficult journey after a car accident, will be watching him play live. This isn't just a game for him, it's family, it's legacy. And for DJ Reader, it's a return to the team that once let him go, the same Bengals who now desperately miss his presence on their line. You think that doesn't matter? You think these guys won't be running a little hotter on Sunday? Now, Cincinnati does have one opening. The Lions are banged up in the secondary. DJ Reed is sidelined with a hamstring. Tryon Arnold is questionable with a shoulder. And if both are out, Detroit could be forced to roll with Amick Robertson and Khalil Dorsey, 2 guys with talent, but also with limited starting experience. That means Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins will get their shots. If Jake Browning can somehow find rhythm, this could be the angle that keeps the Bengals alive. But again, that depends on giving Browning time, and Hutchinson has been waiting to feast on a shaky offensive line like this. When you stack it all up, it feels like the Lions have control of this narrative. They can dictate tempo with the run game, own the trenches with their line, and unleash Hutchinson to disrupt everything Cincinnati tries to do. Meanwhile, the Bengals are staring at boos raining down from their own crowd if the offense sputters again, with no clear backup plan behind Browning. Add in the fact that Lions fans will travel, they always do, and Paycor Stadium could end up sounding a lot more like a Lions home game than anyone in Cincinnati wants to admit. So here's the question, Lions fans, do you see this as a trap game where Cincinnati could suddenly snap back to life? Or do you think Detroit's momentum is too strong and they're about to roll right through another opponent? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know if you're as confident as I am heading into this one. Because let's be real, the only path the Bengals have here feels razor thin, and it relies on a series of ifs that don't exactly inspire confidence. If Jake Browning can suddenly elevate his play, if Ja'Marr Chase gets force-fed 12 to 15 targets and makes the kind of highlight reel plays that bail out an offense, if the offensive line, which hasn't been good at either protecting or run blocking, suddenly holds up against one of the league's most disruptive pass rushers, if their defense, which has struggled all season to generate pressure outside of Trey Hendrickson, somehow finds a way to collapse the pocket on Jared Goff, if, that's the kind of list you make when you're hoping for a miracle, not when you're preparing for a heavyweight fight. Meanwhile, the Lions don't need to live in hypotheticals. Their formula is clear and proven. Ball control on offense, a steady diet of Montgomery and Gibbs pounding between the tackles, forcing the Bengals' young defense to play on its heels. Mix in Goff's ability to run the play action, and suddenly St. Brown is carving up the middle of the field while Jameson Williams and Laporta stretch coverage. That combination is lethal when Detroit stays ahead of the chains. And defensively, it comes down to Hutchinson setting the tone, pushing Cincinnati into third and longs, and letting a patched-up secondary play with help over the top. And let's not overlook special teams. Jack Fox has been pitting opponents deep for weeks, flipping the field and forcing long, grinding drives. Khalif Raymond has already made noise with punt returns, and Detroit's coverage units have been sharp. If you think about the situation, Cincinnati's offense has already struggled to string together first downs. Now imagine starting drives inside your own 10 with Hutchinson lurking. That's the type of setup that crushes a team before halftime. But maybe the most compelling part of this matchup is the bigger picture. For Cincinnati, this feels like desperation. Fans are already restless, and the thought of boos echoing through Paycor if Browning starts slow is very real. The Bengals aren't just fighting for a win, they're fighting to prove they're still a team that can compete without their franchise quarterback. For Detroit, it's the exact opposite. This is an opportunity to prove they've matured into a team that takes care of business when they're supposed to. In past years, this might have been the game where the Lions slipped, let a wounded opponent hang around, and lost in frustrating fashion. But this season, everything feels different. They're expected to win, and expected to win convincingly. That's new territory, and the way they handle it will say a lot about who they are. And you can sense how much confidence is growing inside that locker room. After the Browns game, players admitted they left points on the field, yet they still won by double digits. That's the kind of statement good teams make, winning even when not firing on all cylinders. If you asked around the league, there's a shift happening. Coaches and analysts aren't just saying, the Lions are scrappy. They're saying, the Lions are one of the NFL's best. And Sunday is another chance to reinforce that narrative, especially in a nationally televised spot that, while missing Joe Burrow, still gives Detroit a platform to showcase its rise. Think about the personal motivation layered in, too. David Montgomery running in his hometown with family in the stands, including his sister, who's endured so much. This is the type of game where emotion can carry a player to another level. DJ Reader stepping back into Paycor, healthy and dominant again, eager to remind the Bengals what they lost when he left. And Hutchinson, who's been waiting for this kind of spotlight performance to hammer home the idea that he's more than just Detroit's cornerstone, he's becoming one of the league's premier game wreckers. So here's where it stands. The Bengals are battered, desperate, and searching for answers. The Lions are riding momentum, healthier in the trenches, and ready to keep proving they belong at the top of the NFL conversation. On paper, this is Detroit's game to lose. On the field, it's another chance to turn potential into proof. But I want to hear from you. Do you see the Lions walking into Cincinnati and putting on a statement performance? Or do you think this is the classic NFL trap game where a desperate team claws back against the odds? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this matchup has all the makings of a defining moment for Detroit. And here's the part that makes this matchup even more fascinating. The psychology of it all. The Bengals know they've been embarrassed. They've been outscored 76-13 over the last 2 weeks, and their own fans are questioning whether the coaching staff even has answers left. That creates tension, doubt, and pressure to prove something fast. But pressure can break teams just as easily as it can inspire them. And when that pressure meets a Lions team that's playing with confidence, unity, and a chip on its shoulder, it sets up the possibility of Cincinnati unraveling even further. Detroit, on the other hand, enters this game with a very different mindset. They're not sneaking up on anyone anymore. They're the hunted. The team opponents circle on their calendars. That means the Bengals will throw everything they can at them, deep shots to chase, desperation runs, even risky play calling designed to swing momentum. But for Detroit, this is exactly where they can prove maturity. If they stay disciplined, avoid beating themselves with penalties or turnovers, and execute the game plan, they don't just win, they dominate. And domination on the road, in a late afternoon slot with the national spotlight, would speak volumes about how far this team has come. What should also excite Lions fans is how adaptable this roster has become. When Montgomery struggled last week, Goff still made key throws. When the defense lost starters in the secondary, Hutchinson and Reeder picked up the slack in the trenches. When special teams was needed, Jack Fox and Khalif Raymond answered. That's not a team relying on one star. It's a team that can beat you in multiple ways. And in the NFL, that's the hallmark of a contender. So as we look towards Sunday, this isn't just about one win. This is about sending a message that Detroit no longer plays down to opponents, that they're capable of putting away struggling teams without giving them hope, and that their sights are firmly set on the bigger picture, a deep playoff run. Because make no mistake, that's the level this roster believes it's playing at. And now, Lions fans, it's on you. What do you expect to see in Cincinnati? Is this the week we watch Detroit hammer home its status as one of the NFL's elite? Or are you worried the Bengals' desperation could make things messy? Drop your predictions below. I want to know if you're bracing for a fight or ready for a blowout.